It's a mess in this attic, lot going on, but there ain't no need to panic. Come on up and join, we getting wild, getting manic. Spitting truth for all you fanatics.
What's up, everybody? Today is Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. This is a Talk in the Attic, which of course means I'm your host, Kirk Ross. I want to get right into today's episode. My guest is Derek Randall. He's the frontman and lead singer of the band Derek Randall. Their debut album will be dropping on Thursday, April 20th. And their first show of their big Hometown Throwdown Tour will be Friday night right here in Grand Rapids at the Pyramid Scheme. Check it out. We're going to be going. Derek's a cool guy. You hear a lot of music today in this one. It's a great talk. Let's start the show.
Get the jack, get the Jim, get the chasers. Tell the girls to swing by later. I grab a keg and get it fired up. Later on, gonna play some flip cup. Tell the neighbors that we're gonna get a little loud. Trying to get a little lost just to get found. Gonna just let go and scream it out. Not living for tomorrow, but for right now. We share our souls.
What's up, everybody? I'm here with Derek Randall of Derek Randall, self-named band.
Yeah, I'm an artist, but I mean, we treat it as a band, so all my guys are equal shares in everything that we do.
Yeah.
It's a longer story, but basically, all of the guys, like if someone wants to leave, we don't have to rebrand, we don't have to redo it. Right. And I have guys in my band that have other projects. You know, if one of them shoots off, I'm the biggest cheerleader. I want them to just go do it, but I don't want to have to redo everything. So
yeah, for sure.
Artist/band.
That's cool. But I mean, have you pretty much had the same band for a while now? And is it the same band that you record with and all that too?
Yeah. Same band since I started a couple years ago with, and they are loyal, and they're loyal to a fault, just like I am, man. Yeah.
So tell a little bit about, obviously you grew up playing music, but you've only really been recorded or signed for a couple years. So tell me kind of about your background and what led to being signed and how all that looked.
Yeah, so I played music a long time ago, and I was in a rock band called Defiance Point out of St. Charles, Missouri, and we did some cool things. We played in front of a lot of people, and we even got technically signed by like this independent label up here in Michigan, and we stopped playing for a long time, and I got really jaded with just music in general because you get so close, and we were doing some stuff with some really big bands. Right. And then all of a sudden it just stops like overnight. So I just didn't play any music for about, 6, 7, 8 years. And then I started writing again, and a few friends heard some and they're like, hey, you should probably show that to some people. Said, all right, okay. Showed it to a few people. Hey, you should probably record that. Okay, I'll record it. And then so on and so forth. And I have some friends that really believe in what we're doing, and they created a label just for us, man. And it was just like, it's an honor to have people that believe in you that much to just say, hey, we really think that you got something. And for us, it's a tough road because since we do country and rock, a lot of people are like, hey, pick a lane, man. But I tell you what, with Hardy and Jelly Roll and some of those artists now paving the way to say like, hey, man, you don't have to pick a genre. You just do you, and like people love it. Yeah. That's opening more like mainstream to like people like myself that just kind of
go with
do what we do. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And then you're not, before we started recording, we were talking about how some of these pop country songs, which are all good songs, they're making tons of money doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's a manufactured formulaic feel to them sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And some of the songs are more than others where you're like, you can tell like it was just some people that are like, let's try to like throw as many like key words as we can in here to make this as country as possible. And some are authentic, and sometimes you take, I think Morgan does a really good job at it, where he takes a song where he did a song with Diplo, and it's really cool. Like you hear it was Heartless, and it was like, why you gotta be so heartless? I know you think it's heartless. You tearing me apart. I find myself just like, man, this
like a danceability
is awesome, man. This is a great song.
Yeah.
And for what it is, man, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with mixing genres, and especially if the content is there, if like the message is there, and it doesn't feel like they're pandering to people.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen the Bo Burnham pandering.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
Hear that subtle mandolin? That's textbook pandering.
I just saw a TikTok the other day where there was a guy, and he was like talking about like how to write a hit country song.
I think I saw that too.
Yeah, and it was like, and then you do this, and then you do this, and I was like, man, yeah, that's pretty much it. And that TikTok's going crazy. So I'm sure I wish I knew the name of the guy because it was genius.
First verse starts like this, kinda sounds like you're talking. Then you name drop a town or a truck that you never be caught in, 'cause you're too rich.
Yeah, maybe it'll be spliced in here when the show comes out.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Make me look good.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But your music's cool. I've been listening to it all day today, and you've got, there's definitely like a rock element to it. And then some of it's kind of just old school country too. I already had texted you earlier about the favorite Monster or Monster. I think they're both out there, but man, that's a great song.
Yeah, that one actually is, it's my favorite song that I've written. Just, it was written on a night where I was sitting talking to somebody on the phone, kind of just, I had the guitar in my hands when they called, so I was just playing, and then all of a sudden I was just like, I got to call you back. And I just, and I was drinking a little bit that night, and it just came out, and it's about struggles, man. And some of my songs, people will see that like it's a relationship, right? It's like it's a relationship with something, and that particular song is like, you find something that you just can't live without, and in the world might say that it's some sort of like monster or something that's not good for you. That could be a person or a thing. Like for me, it's music, right? And it's a very tough thing, and a lot of people want to say like, get a real job. Like it's tough out there. Like you're not that one in a million, and it becomes a monster. And eventually you have to either come to grips with like, I can't live without whatever that is, or I, try to move on. And once you just let go of everything else, and you're just like, I really don't care what everybody else says, this is mine. This is my monster. You can call it whatever you want, but it's mine. And even if the world burns down around me,
you've got this.
This is it, man. Yeah.
I press you to my lips and I pull the trigger. That feeling that you give is all I live for. I used to run from the light, keep my feelings locked inside, but you caged all the demons that were running in my mind. You're my favorite monster, I can't get enough of. You lead me to the darkest place, tell me it'll be okay to hide out while my bridges burn down. The only thing I need is you, 'cause you become the monster that I chose. All the walls that are in my way, all the walls that I created, you tear them down in a fucking rage without saying a goddamn thing. You tell me that I should go straight to it, everything is gonna be okay, but I don't wanna be okay if it means that you ain't here with me. You're my favorite monster, I can't get enough of. Lead me to the darkest place, tell me it'll be okay to hide out while my bridges burn down. The only thing I need is you, 'cause you've become the monster that I chose.
When you quit playing after the rock, after the kind of the rock thing fizzled out, did you straight up quit playing, like even like a hobby?
Oh man, I wouldn't even go to a concert for like 3 years.
It's just too like heartbreaking almost.
Yeah. Now those guys and I have reconciled, and they're really good guys. They're friends of mine growing up, and like went to high school together, and then it was oh man, we came really close, really close to being out, and we played with we opened for some really big bands, and you get that taste, man. You play in front of like 20,000 people, and you're just like, hey, you get addicted. And I think the coolest thing is the connection, right? Like, so when you sing a song and you hear the crowd singing your song back to you, it's just like, it's a really crazy feeling, and there's no way to describe it other than like, if you like one of those things, like until you've felt it, it's just this thing. But you instantly understand the connection that you have with people,
Right.
and that song or however it relates, and you just want to do it more. You just want to like bring people that happiness. That's just all you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's where I was. And when something like that, you find that, and then it gets taken away over some just silly stuff. It's just,
Yeah, you
You're
don't
just
want to be
like,
part
oh
of
my
it. You
God.
got to get away from it.
yeah. And then eventually it just sucks you back in, because it goes back to like, it's the thing, man. It's that thing in your life that you just want to do, and you just keep going back to it no matter what. You know?
Yeah, I think there's a misunderstanding of a lot of folks that people that go into music want to be famous, and in my experience, it's probably the opposite. Like most people are kind of introverted. Most artists, musicians, writers are kind of introverted people.
Yeah.
The only way to really make it a career is to become famous, because that's how it works, to get enough money to make it happen.
Absolutely.
How does that all look to you? Like people will hear that, and if they're in the wrong mindset, they'll think, oh, he just wants to play in front of 20,000 people, but it's not that. It's
No,
a connection.
not at all,
And it's that what you're putting out is relatable to other people, and it's always relatable in a different way to each person, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just use that as an example, because
Yeah.
the more people, the more energy that it has.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of energy when you play to 10 people. If you could be at a bonfire and you play to one single person, and they connect, and they're just like, I really like that song, man.
Yeah,
that
it feels good.
And it's like, thanks. Or like when you get that one person that's like, hey man, I'm going through some stuff right now, and like that song, if I just listen to it, it just kind of helps me like either get through it, or just kind of it gives me something to focus on, like whatever it is, like that's the connection. But what you were saying about, there's different people in music, I think. You have the people that are kind of like, I think Hardy said like Mockingbird. I think that's a good analogy. There's people that are artists, and I think the rock world and country world are very different.
Yeah.
In the rock world, pretty much everybody writes their own stuff.
Right.
So like a lot of that is just internal, and you got 5 guys or gals together that are like, you're hearing their stories, like what it is and what made them. In country, it's a little bit different. I feel like you have some people that are just really good at representing other people's stories.
Yeah, like interpreters.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly. They're good storytellers.
Right.
And a lot of the people that are the good writers, you might never even see.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Dean Dillon that most people don't even know who he was or who he is.
Yeah.
He wrote tons of number ones for George Strait, man. He's wrote like more number ones than anybody in Nashville, man. He's just huge.
Yeah.
There's another guy that writes tons and tons of number ones. You never know his name.
Yeah.
You never know his name. So I think it's as an artist, everybody has their own things, and there are probably a few at least that are just, they want that limelight, and that's what they feed off of.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of us that want that connection.
Yeah.
They do it. It starts off as something like, so when I very first started playing music, it was just like something to do with buddies. Like, so we'll go back to that rock band, for example. We just got together as something to do.
Yeah.
We
Just
were
partying in the
young
garage, hung out in the
20s.
garage. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just like, hey, you guys want to like write some song? And they're like, yeah. Or it started with, you guys just want to jam, and they're like, yeah. And then we started jamming enough. We're like, hey, maybe we should try writing a song. Like, oh, all right, and then we wrote a song, and then we had a buddy come over, and he's like, hey, you should play that for somebody. I'm like, well, how do we do that? And then he's like, oh, I'll just throw a concert at my house. And he had this farm, we called it Barn Fest, and it was amazing. And I have a picture. I'll send it to you in case you want to throw it up.
Yeah.
I'm actually wearing this is how hillbilly I am. I'm wearing blue board shorts, and a red flannel, and there's like tiki torches all over the yard. And that was my first show I ever played. And and then we were like, oh, that was cool. And then people at the show were like, hey man, how do I listen to that? I'm like, I don't know.
Do another concert, I guess.
I was like, yeah, I guess we'll have to. Let's go record them and like give them out to people. So then we recorded, and then just like snowballs. And the next thing you know, you're playing shows to tons of people. And we eventually sold out a hometown show that was pretty big.
That's awesome.
And that's when you start. It just kind of happens into it. Not a single one of us in that band set out to say, hey, like we're gonna be rock stars and we're gonna go on the road and we're gonna do any of that. It just slowly morphed into something that you're like, hey, we're okay at this, man, and people like coming out. So that's how that started. And then I got that taste of the connection, and that's what you just want that, man. It's like you got this need to help people. Some people can be doctors and help them that way, and
right.
I feel like musicians are almost like it's almost therapeutic, like
it is for me as a listener of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to learn now myself, but like I've listened to music my whole life, and it's certain bands you feel like they're singing about you. Or they're singing directly to you, and that's a great. It's definitely helped me through a lot of hard times, and it continues to.
Yeah, and I think for the right artists that are songwriters, when they're writing that song, that's helping them go through that same thing, and that's part of the connection. So you don't feel alone. They don't feel alone. Like there's someone else in this world that has gone through this thing and they made it out on the other side. And that's kind of gives you hope for the other half.
100%. Sometimes the sadder the song, the better I feel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes it's just sad. It's a sad song day, man. Sometimes you just got to rock it.
Yeah, dude, for sure. So, well, first off, you have a big show coming up here in Grand Rapids at Pyramid Scheme on the 21st, which is Friday night.
Yep, this Friday, yeah.
So, folks, if you're in the area, come check it out. We're going. Derek was kind enough to bring by some tickets, so we'll definitely be there. I'm excited to see it, actually in action. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, man. It's our live shows are just different. Like you can listen to the record all day, and we love like when people are like, hey, I just really like this song, but there's the energy, it's just different. And we love it because when some people say, man, you guys are so much heavier live than you are on the album. We're like, yeah, because it's playing at like 11,
especially
it's
at
like
Pyramid
cranked.
Scheme, dude.
Yeah.
That's a hard spot. That's like a rock club.
It's going to be cranked up, and we have someone like we try to bring the energy and do different things and stuff. Obviously, you're not going to get if you're just like playing it as background music. When you're engaged at a show, it's just different. It's just so much more energy, and yeah, we just can't wait. That's the first stop on this tour, and the album comes out Thursday. So we're just like, there's so much just pushing forward. And for us, man, we've been working our butts off for the last 4 months prepping. Yeah. So that'll be the first day we can just kind of let loose. We're just going to be like, I'm just telling my guys, like, just no one go to jail, and so we can do the rest of this tour, and then it'll be all right.
I feel like on behalf of Grand Rapids, I feel kind of honored that it's basically your album release party. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, it's that unofficially. We had talked about doing different things and maybe doing a live, and I was like, I live here in Grand Rapids now when I'm not down in Nashville doing music. So this is like my adopted hometown. And when they were talking about like, hey, well, where do you want to start this? I'm like, we got to do it in Grand Rapids. And I'm like, I got to just beg somebody, because we haven't actually played a show here in GR.
Yeah,
so
right.
It was like, man, I got to just go around and we got to
spread
find
the word.
Somebody to have this. And I've even signed up for Uber and started driving around, and that's how I met you. And I was like, as soon as someone gets in the car, the doors lock and we start pulling away. I'm like, hey, do you want to hear like my music? And you just like, some people are like, oh God, what is about to come out of this?
If it sucks, I'm gonna have to act like I like it.
Yeah, they're like you're in my car for the next 5 minutes, so check it out.
Captive audience.
Yeah, you can't get out now. And I've been just pushing it because I really, really, really want, this is like I said, my adopted hometown. I really want to do well here, and for the community and everything. Just I want Grand Rapids to be a great town to play in.
I think it plays well here. I think like your lyrical content and your type of music, I think it's probably kind of universal anyway. Yeah. But I think you're gonna have I'm going to spread the word as much as I can.
I appreciate that.
I'm excited to see it, but I think first off, he didn't have to say that to me. He didn't say, do you want to hear my music? We actually were organically talking about music.
Yeah.
So Derek picked this up from a concert of a friend's, and for like the 5th time, we didn't see him play because it was too late, and the guy goes on super late, and we were kind of talking about that story. And then you just passively said, well, I'm a musician too. And I think we said like, let's hear it,
Yeah.
And then we ended up talking in the driveway for 20 minutes, and then that's how we set this up. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and everybody was really nice. Like, so even if someone didn't like it, they were like, oh yeah, this is very good. And then I'd be like, you want to go to a show? And they're like, most people were like, oh yeah. And so I think there'll be people there. Like, I don't know if like everyone will be it, but like some of the people I could tell, they were like, oh, I'm busy that day. Like,
I haven't even told you the day.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, like, it's okay. Like, it's not for everybody. And
right.
I can't imagine like if I got in an Uber and someone was like, hey, do you want to hear my jams? And I'd be like, oh yeah, let's hear it, man. Because you never know. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things.
Well, I appreciate the hustle of it all too, and the humility of that too, because obviously you're a recording artist, you're signed, and the point of it is to spread the word and to connect with people. So you're doing Uber not necessarily because you have to, but because that's a good way to spread the word. I like
exactly.
that. And I like the hustle, man.
I'm hoping that I can continue this in years to come. We'll see. We'll come back next year. Hopefully it'll be bigger. But maybe like, every year that I play Grand Rapids, even if we're playing like at Van Andel or something huge,
Yeah.
I'll still drive some Uber before
Dude, yeah.
and be like, hey, do you want to come to my show?
Just for old time's sake.
Yeah, I mean, how cool would that be if there was an artist, and if I got in imagine if I was in Nashville and like all of a sudden I get in the car and Luke Combs is driving the Uber, like, hey man, you want to listen to my tunes? They're like, hell yeah.
Yeah, can I change the address? Pick somewhere like 6 hours away, just so you can hang out the whole time. Yeah. That's exciting. So, talk about a little bit about the tour after Grand Rapids. How many stops you got planned? I know you've got some festivals this summer too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have some that aren't announced yet.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Missouri date.
By the way, is that where you're from?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Missouri.
Okay.
I grew up there, and I think that's part of why I'm a little rock and roll, a little country, man. That's just what it is, man.
Yeah.
It's just who we
It's a
are
melting
down there.
pot.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of where the North meets the South, East and West, and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah, you the concerts down there, you like some of the biggest rock concerts, biggest country concerts, they all go through there, man. It's just it's a big town for music.
Who are some of the big artists at Missouri Coliseum?
I think Sheryl Crow's from there.
Yeah.
I know that Gretchen Wilson's not. She's from the Illinois side, but she's from like Pocahontas, Illinois. It's not too far.
It's
from
right on the border. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too far from St. Louis. You have Nelly.
Oh yeah, of course.
And the St. Lunatics and all that was getting pretty big.
Yeah.
You also have Story of the Year, which is my favorite personally. They're just energy, and their live show is just phenomenal. They were throwing guitars back and forth back in the day, and just I take away like a lot of my like stage presence from like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Like,
how do you make the people feel that the way that you were feeling in the audience?
yeah, so like I was never even in that scene as far as like, so I'm pretty mainstream and pretty country, like that's what it was. And Story, they were kind of more like skater rock, but then their album Page Avenue came out, and we're all like jamming to it, and then I was like, oh, this is okay. But then when you go to their live show, it's like you can't look away. You don't know what the heck's gonna happen. They're doing spinning kick flips. They're throwing guitars back and forth, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of great bands, and I think there's even more coming out of Missouri now. I mean, there's a girl named Alexandra Kay. She does country. She's not really from Missouri. I think she's from the Illinois side, but she does a lot of stuff in the St. Louis area.
Yeah.
She's from right around there. You have a band called Troy. They're from South. They're down by Springfield, but they're like they're kind of like a Shine Down, Blackstone Cherry kind of vibe, and we're doing some stuff with them, and they're good. Shaman's Harvest is from Missouri, another rock band which there's just a lot of good rock and roll, man.
Hell yeah, yeah. Okay, I kind of cut you off there about where you're going. So you have a Missouri date, but
we have a Missouri date with them in June, but that's why we didn't do anything on the we're calling this a Hometown Throwdown Tour. We're doing cities that are from around here, where my band is from, where I'm from, something that means something to us.
Yeah.
So we started here in Grand Rapids. This is where I live. We're down in Battle Creek is two of my band members did front of house. There, and then they also toured with other bigger bands, but that's where they got their start. So we're going to a place called the Music Factory, which I think is like a legendary place. There's if you ever get a chance, or anybody, definitely go to the Music Factory in Battle Creek to see a show. It's super intimate. I think it's like, it used to be like 500 or 600 people could fit in there, and then the fire marshal said no more of that. So I think it's like 360 cap now.
Yeah,
but
that's a good size for a show, though. I like that size.
Yeah, and it's so cool when you get there on the outside. You're like, it's just kind of like this unassuming building. But as soon as you walk in, you see the walls, and all the bands, if you play there enough times, or if you're a big enough band, you sign the walls, and all the, like, you just has this energy and this aura, and it's just amazing. And Jeff, the guy that owns it, he does everything he can for like local music, and gives people like opening, like just a chance to be in front of people. And it's so cool. Like, that's a really cool place where I will play there every year, no matter, like, and always.
That's cool. Hell yeah.
And then we're heading over to the Token over in Detroit, which that's a little daunting. That's the biggest venue that we're doing, and that's our first time in Detroit. So we got a couple really cool bands.
Local openers.
Yeah. They're bigger. I think they're like you would say they're more than local. They're regional. You got Krugerrand and Forge the Sun are going to be with us, and then some buddies of ours. Choke Setter is going to be on pretty much this whole run with us. So Detroit's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool.
We're pushing that, but the Token is a real like a legendary place over there.
Yeah,
a lot of big artists have played the Token.
Do you find yourself kind of changing your set list based on the location you're going to be?
No. Like I've been asked to do that a couple of times, but I feel like then we just got to be like the genuine, like, yeah, this is who we are, man. Like, and there's people that like just the rock side of us, and there's people that like just the country side. And I kind of say we're like the gateway drug to both sides. Like if you like one side, you might like the other side a little bit. And
for sure.
There's not a big difference between country and rock. It's
all based on blues.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's just a little bit of instrumentation or what is just a little bit of the feeling or maybe just the lyrical content. But a lot of the people, the experiences are the same. Right. A lot of the experiences are the same. It's just how you put it together, man.
Yeah, dude, that's really cool. I mean, some of your rock stuff kind of has like a, and I don't mean to suggest that this is derivative or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But it kind of has, it's reminiscent of like Seether and like Stained a little bit, you know, Aaron Lewis kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And then you're like, that Monster song has a real Jason Isbell feel, I feel like your vocals are beautiful on that song.
Oh, thank you.
And of course the lyrics are meaningful, and that's a sad one.
Yeah.
Or that's how I perceived it. You know,
it is and it isn't. It's like, so we have two songs that are kind of like flip flop like that. I think Monster is sad if you just because of the vibe, like if you sit in it. But then if you find like if you actually find something that you're just that passionate about that you're like you don't care like what else happens, like this is I'm gonna do this forever. I don't care if I get paid $1 or nothing. I'm just gonna do it. Yeah. That's actually like the truest form of happiness that you can possibly have in this world. Like,
it really is, man.
So like it is. And then we have a song on the flip side of that called Blackberry Crow, and that was written by my guitar player Jesse. And it's actually about all these memories about his father passing away and like all these things that he remembers and goes through. And I was talking to the guys because we were talking about like, oh, you don't want too many sad when you're building a set. You don't want too many sad songs in a row. You know, you don't.
Yeah, because you don't want people energy up.
Yeah, you don't want people walking into traffic or anything. So you got to keep the energy up, right? Yeah. And that one, I was like, oh, that's like a happy song because if you listen to it, the momentum of the song lyrically and just like it's kind of an upbeat thing. Yeah. But it's you're remembering the people that aren't here anymore, you know, like there's this like hole and you can't fill it. And so they're like, no, that's totally sad. And I'm like, man, I look at it differently. I see it as like this you know, like remembering the good times.
Yeah, it's like honoring and and
absolutely.
When you do lose someone, the memories are all you have.
Absolutely.
You
that's
know,
all you got.
And when you can almost sit with the people that when you're sitting in a memory and you're thinking about that person, it's not that different than them being there with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really tough. And that's not just with just people. It's just anything. Like you could have a pet that meant a lot to you. And then, you know, once that person or whatever is not with you anymore, you sit with those happy times. I mean, yeah, it's sad that you may not have a presence anymore, but to try to be grateful for the time that you did have. Because, I mean, life is short in the grand scheme of things, man.
Yeah.
I'm just riding shotgun in that short box shed, singing songs with my old man. Like Willie Nelson, there's something about Waylon Jennings that leads me into a simple man. Now I'm broke down southbound on some old highway, I can hear your voice again, thinking about them good old boys down on the levee, and now I'm drinking right with them. I don't take those days for granted anymore. There's so much time we waste on memories, less than boredom. There ain't much left of me but blackberry smoke, and I'm harder to love now than any black crow. I don't take those days for granted anymore.
life is short in the grand scheme of things, man.
Yeah.
Whew. I get sucked into, I don't know if you do, where like those weird timeline things that make you think like, what is it, like Cleopatra is closer to us on the timeline than when the pyramids were built or something like that. It's just like, what?
Yeah,
it just makes you think. Or like we're only, what was it, like 3 human lifetimes from when like the United States began or something like that. It was like, what?
I see like memes like that
3.5
sometimes.
lifetimes or
yeah,
something like
I
that.
see memes like that sometimes, and it just like it's like I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, and then you know we think of like the 40, like I saw something where it was like 1972 or something is the same distance away from today than it was from like 1942 or something.
Yeah, from World War II.
Yeah, you're like, what? You're like, oh man, life is so short. And
yeah,
but yeah, that's the whole point of like those songs is sometimes just to make you think and just like bring you a little bit of happiness. And again, that just goes back to the connection. And when you write about things, I really feel that are genuine like that, or something you've been through, then it people are more like drawn to it because
it comes through.
Yeah, absolutely, it
comes through. And yeah, when you sing with a lot of emotion and like. When you hear someone singing with emotion, especially at a live show, and honestly, there's going to be more mistakes. Like you're gonna make some mistakes on Friday night. That's part of it. I like that better.
Absolutely,
you know, like it's a real song. It's not perfect.
I want to have an album name on this, so please no one steal this before I can do it. Yeah. But I really think there's beauty in the imperfection. Definitely. I think in rock and roll especially, just going out there and just like if it's not perfect. It is perfect. Like it's the moment. It's just live the moment and just be whatever it'll be. Yeah. Like screw up if you screw up. If you don't, like just let it ride and just let it happen. And just as long as everybody's having a good time and happy, you know.
Yeah. Especially these days with computer technology. I mean, GarageBand came for free on this computer. Yeah. Which I know is like the worst DAW you can get, but it's so powerful. You know, I think about 20 years ago, you would have had to go record in a studio somewhere and spend money on that. Now I can do it here. You can quantize everything. You can make it sound pretty close to perfect. Yeah. Where's the fun in that? AI is going to be able to make music perfectly. Yeah, and it's not about it's not always about like the perfection of like even with instruments. Right. Like if the right person can take the worst sense, you might think it's like this is some cheap instrument, and they'll make it sound amazing, and you're like, what? It's the person that does it, you know. It's it's not always you could probably like some of the great producers can probably give you something off GarageBand that's could be played on the radio, and you're like, for sure, exactly. So I think it's definitely about the person. I was humbled by that. When I first started playing guitar, my buddy, I had this old guitar, and I was like, man, I think there's something wrong with it. Yeah, I think this thing is buzzing right here. And he'd be like, let me take a look at that. And he's like, no, man, that's just you. Here you go. Finger was on the wrong it's like, he's like, probably should practice more. I'm like, all right. Yeah. Yeah. So in the rehearsal phase, you've been in the rehearsal phase for 4 months now. So just prepping. So what does that look like? Like, do you play a full set at the full? You probably aren't playing with the same energy as when you're playing in front of people, but no, it's more. Shoot, it's probably like anything that at a professional level, you try to dissect it as much as you can, and really like focus on an individual thing over and over, and then you move on to the next thing or song or what have you. And for us, we try to focus on what happens between the songs so that the show like flows. Yeah, exactly. And then as we get closer, we're like, all right, let's just go through the show, see what happens, and then like, hey, what was that? Like, or, something happened where like, what was that? Like something sounded funky there. Yeah. Like, let's just like tighten that up, or you just want to be able to, so on the day of, like there's going to be mistakes and that's okay. Like we were just talking, but you want to give the best representation of whatever it is. Yeah. So it's just trying to knock out anything that might cause some problems. Just make sure you get your repetitions. Yeah. Less surprises. Exactly. Yeah. And for us, we play with tracks. So a lot of people, there's a big bugaboo about playing with tracks. A lot of people don't like that. But for us, what we do is like, so some of the songs, I'm sure you've heard like banjo. Yeah. Or like a third guitar part or something that we don't have enough money
We're not Luke Combs.
You can't be carrying 12 members around.
Yeah,
the whole
I
time,
can't pay someone $300 a night to come out and play one song on banjo,
Right.
or one song on steel, or like whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's just insane. Like the amount of stuff. So what we do is we use tracks for that.
Yeah.
And then it comes out, and we're all playing all of our stuff is live. Our
Right.
drums are live, guitar's live, I'm live. All of that is live, but the banjo is pre-recorded, so it comes through our in-ears, so we know where we're at, and there's a click and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
part of it is building the show so that we can give off like a really good performance.
That's cool though. I mean, we went and saw. My mom is like almost 70 years old, and she's a huge Post Malone fan.
Okay.
Which is bizarre.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, she got me into Post Malone. Usually it's the opposite, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But we went to see his show, and it's completely track because he's a solo artist. There was no
Yeah,
band.
most hip hops are all tracks. It's
Yeah.
almost like karaoke minus
Right.
the words. They could just
But like the energy that he played with, dude, what you were talking about, like the feeling that he was giving, if it's a good enough performance, you forget about all that. Who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
there's a
you just
million
hear it,
ways to
yeah.
do it. You know.
Yeah, and I honestly, if I could afford to pay all those people, and we were some big production, I wouldn't have anything in there.
Right.
You don't use tracks. I think some of the stuff though. There's a band called Bad Omens, which I really like. I think they're really, really phenomenal, and they have a couple songs where they use some like anytime you try to bend the rules or do something a little different, you might have like some beat tracks that are going in there, and to get that live, like what is somebody you really care? You want to see someone up there on like a beat pad doing this? Like, who cares? Like, just let it play.
Yeah.
And then the musicians can play their instruments where they go.
Yeah.
Like, and it's still, like you said, it's going to give you all the energy in the world, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So
Yeah, dude. One of your first songs that comes up on Spotify has like kind of more of a drum machine loop in it. I really like that one.
yeah, that's How We Get Down. And
How We Get Down. Yeah.
I was actually against that when we first were in the studio doing that, and the guy we were working with, he's like, "Hey, just let's just hear me out, and let's just do this." And I was like, "All right." So I just walked outside for a few minutes, and when I came back in, and he kind of sold me, because I was like, "Man, I just don't like." Because there's such a negative connotation with a lot of that pop stuff, I was like, it's okay, but I just don't want it to come off like it's not us, like,
Right.
And it didn't.
It doesn't
feel that way. Yeah.
No.
So sometimes you have to let other people kind of take you out of your little box that you like to be in, and stuff like that happens. It turned out to be one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, that's where like the collaborative process can be really important. I can understand why some people wouldn't want that, because you have a strict vision and you want to achieve that. But without collaboration, nothing would ever change either. We'd still be doing the same shit.
He just heard it and was like, "Hey, let me try this real quick." And
Yeah.
like,
And it's a party song. That's kind of a party song anyway. So I think that fits. I think it kind of has like a hip hop beat to it. Like at halftime, it's cool.
Absolutely. And now on the next record, I'm already telling the guys, I'm like, we got to do some more stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like bring that into more of our rock stuff that we do. And we'll see what happens.
And that'll probably bring some crossover appeal too. That I think you already have. But yeah, that's cool, man. So let's talk a little bit about, like, this is kind of a trite question that people always ask musicians, but I'm curious.
Sure. Yeah.
You talked about Monster. You were on the phone. You kind of you were drinking a little bit, and the mood struck you, and you sat down and wrote that. I'm sure that kind of flowed right off the pen.
Yeah.
But are they always like that, or are you sometimes sitting down and laboring over a song and thinking about it for years? How does it change song to song?
I think every song is a little bit different. I think there's songs that I've written and it's like 5 minutes and you got the whole song and you're like, that was easy.
Why can't they help you?
Yeah,
like that?
let's just do that a bunch of times. And there are songwriters down in Nashville that, like, if you hone your craft, there's people that can do that. You can just be like, "Hey, can you write a song about this?" Yeah, sure. 20 minutes later, they got something for you, and you're like, "How would you do that?"
Yeah.
And for us, I get, like, for me personally, it just doesn't work like that. Sometimes it'll be a riff, that I'll have it for years.
Yeah.
And do nothing with. Or sometimes it's a lyrical idea, or you just start messing it and it just comes out like pretty quick. A lot of times something has to be going on.
Right.
Some of the sad songs that I've written, some of them all came at once about one thing, and some of them came later or earlier. It's just different.
But still about
things.
that same experience.
Yeah,
came
exactly.
later. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's all about capturing those moments somehow. And it's not always easy. Sometimes, like, thankfully I have a band where they bring riffs, and my guitar player Jesse, he's a really good songwriter in his own right.
Yeah.
He might bring an idea or something. We just kind of collaborate on it. And my lead guitar player Jonesy, he he can bring me a guitar lick, and he's really like, sometimes I don't even know how to tell him like, hey, come down this key or like whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, can you do like a diddle? And he's like, you mean like this? And he just rips
you
it.
can
I'm like,
translate what you're
yeah,
saying.
exactly. Like he understands me. Like he can break it down to like to where we're on the same page. And
Yeah.
he's really good. So it really depends. Like, but most of the time, sometimes a song can come out immediately, and some of those are the best songs because they're so natural. And sometimes you might just have like the hook or that chorus or just like a line. I'll show you in my phone before I leave, but like I have like notes and notes and notes of like song ideas, and like lyrically I'll have something in my head, but I just don't know like musically what I want behind it. Or like I'll record like something like where I'll be driving down the road and I'll just hit record and I'll kind of like hum the beat that I kind of like have this vibe for.
Yeah.
And then I just circle back, and sometimes I forget about it for years, and then I pull it up like, oh shoot, here you
I
go.
got something
All
for
right,
that now. Or
yeah, exactly.
That's cool. So like when you're writing, do you almost always write lyrically after you've already got an idea for melody? Or I know you kind of just said it's all over the map, but like I like to write poetry.
Yeah.
And I often think like, man, how can I make this into a song? And I have no idea how to come up with a melody. I don't even, even if I already have chords on my piano that I kind of think like would go well with it, I still don't even know like, how does that translate to melody? I don't know.
So sometimes what I used to do was, if some like in the rock band that I was in the beginning, if the music was already written, sometimes what I do is I would just close my eyes and try to see what I see, you know, like almost like a movie, and you just kind of like watch it, and then you just say what you see, and that's pretty easy, right?
Right.
But you just got to figure out how does it fit lyrically. And I've had like kind of ideas where I have a like something that has a certain vibe. Maybe it's like kind of an upbeat kind of vibe, and then I hear like some music, I'm like, man, that would fit with this. And then what you have to do is you kind of be like, well, that doesn't fit like syllable wise into the melody that I hear now. So you take that same thing and you're like, okay, how do I re-say this same thing? So which makes it easier because you have that whole idea.
Yeah.
And then you just have to make it fit. Like, okay, that stanza has to go here.
Just kind of small changes to make it
exactly.
blend.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's cool, dude. That's really cool. I mean, we could talk about music all night, but
yeah, absolutely.
But I also know that you're into like Bigfoot too.
I think Bigfoot is blurry. That's the problem. It's not the photographer's fault. Bigfoot is blurry. And that's extra scary to me because there's a large, out-of-focus monster roaming the countryside.
Oh, God, yeah.
First off, do you have any songs about Bigfoot? And if not, why not?
No. I just like that stuff. I watch all the stupid videos about like any sort of conspiracy thing. I'm like the Antarctica thing. Like someone was like,
"What's the Antarctica thing?"
Oh my gosh, there was like some general that went down there, and then when he came back, he started telling stories about seeing like a land with dinosaurs and flying saucers and just all this crazy stuff. And like, you start going down that rabbit hole, you're like, wow, Antarctica is really just like some like tropical place, and it's like the world is flat and like just all this crazy stuff. But yeah, no, I get sucked into those things. And the Bigfoot thing, so you know how like people like there's ghosts, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, you see poltergeist or like you see something like walking, and sometimes they even like throw stuff, right? Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I was listening to this podcast, and it was about I'm cutting the grass, and I listen, and the guy comes on, he's like, I have this theory about Bigfoot, and I was like, all right, I'm listening. And he said, what if, you know, like if you believe in evolution.
Yeah.
So people that don't hate me on this, but
I mean, folks, you should probably
take this for what it is.
No, you should probably evolution happened. Okay, so like it doesn't necessarily have to be contradictory to God.
Right. Exactly.
They can both be true.
That's a whole
intelligent design. That's
I have a whole theory on that. That could be a podcast by itself. But what if like through evolution there at some point there were like Bigfoot was like a level of whatever, and they all died out, but now they're ghosts or poltergeists. So when people see them, they're like, I see it right there, but then it's gone, right?
It's really just a pre-human version.
And they just keep capturing this or whatever, you know, and it's like, oh, that's a crazy theory, and that's why you can't find any bones or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man. Or if you start going into like what's his name? And I should have researched this. There's this it's the Ancient Apocalypse. It's like a Netflix series, and the guy that goes into that says 13,000 years ago there was a civilization, and that is a civilization that built, like, it was before
before we started recording.
Yeah, it was like, but they were able to build these pyramids because, like, we can't recreate. We don't even know how they did it. Like, even with today's equipment,
yeah, dude,
we can't move stones like that big. Like, we have no idea how they did it. So, like, they're saying, well, at that time there was some cataclysmic event where, like, a bunch of comets hit, or asteroids,
and just erased everything.
Yeah, erased everything. It was just like completely erased everything, and then the world restarted.
Yeah,
like 13,000 years ago, and then, like,
I tend to believe that's probably
it's
likely,
probable.
Almost.
Yeah. So the Earth's like some billion years old, right? Or trillion, or whatever it is. It's a big number.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, all of like our history happened in like such a small thing that, who's to say we haven't, like, cycled through, like, many things over and over? Like, the dinosaurs,
right,
were, like, what about before them?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I think that's likely.
Well, yeah. Who's to say that there wasn't, like, some other version of humans, like, before that, or, like, during, like, I don't know. I'm not smart. The problem is, like, I'm smart enough to think about that, but not smart enough to figure out, like, any of the answers. So it just leaves myself questioning all of it. Like, what?
Yeah. The main outcome of all of it is that there's not really a common truth to anything.
Absolutely.
There is no truth.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I feel the same way. I think so. We feel like things are getting so hot right now. Like, things are so sketchy right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
UFOs, like, the government's like,
they're basically known now that they're out there. Yeah, and
they're real.
Yeah, people are seeing them all over the place now, and, like, they just picked up some radio waves recently, like last week, that I don't know who they are, but some people are writing, like, on reputable sources, if those exist anymore, that, like, the folks in charge are trying to figure out where these communications are coming from. Yeah. And it kind of makes you wonder, well, it's probably either from aliens or future humans or whatever the hell it is. Yeah. And, like, we feel like things are getting so hot and it's all happening so fast, but we're just such a small portion of the earth. Like you said, it's so freaking old that to the earth, the humans are a blink of an eye.
My favorite meme is someone wrote, like, it was this thing like, what if, like, we were on Mars and we lived there, and then it got so bad that we picked two people, a man and a woman, and they flew in a spaceship, and that came down to Earth, and that was the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, and that was Adam and Eve or something.
Right, yeah, and they actually were called that. Actually.
Yeah. And then like that next quote was, like, somebody pretending the FBI that says delete that immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, like, I think like, if you go back. I'm going to touch on this, even though I probably shouldn't, because it's going to, like, alienate some people, but I don't care.
That's fine.
But
don't worry, nobody's going to watch this anyway.
I hope they do.
No, some people will, but I mean, you're not going to. I kind of preface this when we first talked about you coming on the show. Like, if you're coming on to get massive exposure, this is not the place.
Oh, I don't care.
But someday you're going to be big, and the attic is going to be big too. And then it'll mean something to somebody.
Heck yeah, I was there from the beginning.
That's right.
But yeah, no, I think there's this, like, quandary, like, we're as people, we're always trying to, like, be on the other side of the fence, and they're like, we just have this innate tendency to just argue about things instead of finding the common ground. So, like, evolution versus like religion, right?
Yeah.
If you really think about it, like, a lot of the religions are based on, like, God, or depending on who you are, they may have different term for it, but they're all very similar. They all have, like, a supreme being, and then they have all these little things,
like a prophet that was there.
Yeah. Or, like, the angels, or, like, deities, and they're all. So what if God, whatever you want to call it, him, her, being, whatever, presented itself in a way that would relate to you and your culture? And who's to say that, because if you go back to the Big Bang or whatever, when the universe was created, that there wasn't some supreme being that created that,
right? And
then we're just putting our own story on it. There still can be a God. There still can be a heaven and hell, but maybe it doesn't fit into the narrative that you decided to write,
right?
When you decided to write it. Both can be together. Like,
absolutely.
There's no reason that they both can exist. You know?
Exactly. Not to mention, like, think about all the translations of all the text, whether it's the Quran or the Torah or the Bible. That was a few people who perceive something a certain way.
Exactly.
And they wrote it down in their own way, and there's probably politics at the time that were generating some of the ways they wrote it,
absolutely.
and it's like, yes, there's truth to it all. Anything that anyone ever writes, there's truth to it.
Yeah.
But sometimes people tend to get so stuck in the details. I mean, West Michigan's a great opportunity to talk about this, because there's the Reformed Church of America here, and then there's the Christian Reformed Church.
Yeah.
And these are already so specific parts of Christianity, and even they're warring with each other over tiny details. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
It's all kind of just like text that was translated from a different language a bunch of times, and
and the message, but from everybody.
They're all the same message.
Just be good to everybody. Try to bring like joy to the world. Like, don't be mean to each other. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
It's just one race. It's the human race. Let's all like, if we focus on trying to help each other and be better, then it's just a better world. Like,
yeah, it's
be
easier.
good, no evil. Like, that's the basic message on
every
everything.
religion ever.
Like,
Yeah. And then you watch like the animal kingdom, and they don't have the brain. Well, we don't think that they have the brain capacity to have this stuff, but they could be communicating in different kind of ways that we don't know about.
Oh, absolutely. And there's things that they show where like even animals will have compassion towards other animals, and like an animal that would normally,
devour one.
It doesn't for whatever reason, and there is compassion between animals. And like, even if you look at dogs, like some dogs are really nice, and hear about the dog that saves the baby, and then you also hear about the dog that ate the baby, like it's I think there's more to it. We can't understand it. And I think if everybody started to try to find the common ground instead of where we are different, it'd be a lot easier, a lot better place.
100%. That's kind of the beauty of talking to people too.
Yeah. And that's why I like music. It brings people together.
It's like one of the only things that you can really universally do that. And then there's dicks that'll still fight about everything. Like that music sucks. It's like, I can't look at any music and say that it sucks, because that's that person's expression.
Right.
And they're doing it, when people are talking shit about famous artists, it's like, how competitive and hard it is to become a famous artist. Yeah. You think Justin Bieber sucks? How can you say that? He's only there because he was a badass singer at 13 on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you may not like the guy personally. You may not love the way that he's singing, but like, he's not a bad artist, or he wouldn't be making a bunch of money doing it.
I respect the hustle of any artist, that if you're doing it for a living, if you're out there and you're doing it and you're touring 100+ dates a year,
something's right. You're doing something right.
Yeah, even if you're like breaking even doing it, and you're doing what you love, and you're bringing like people together, that is so respectable. That is like, you're bringing joy to all those people that you see, whether it's 10 people a night or 10,000 people a night. It doesn't matter. Right. If you're out there really trying to, like, I feel like every musician, as you're doing that, you're really putting a positive influence on the world.
Dude, 100%. Yeah. You see people that are just, some people have negative dispositions, and that's environmental. Some people have bad brain chemistry, or, brain chemistry that lends itself to that. But for me personally, there are times where I'm feeling more negative, but my general disposition is positive. And when I am negative, it's such a harder existence.
It is.
Like you're sitting there and it's like, this sucks.
It snowballs.
Why not just try to be happier? It's easier. It's easier to be excited. It's easier to be nice, dude.
If you knew a way to just be happy, man, you could sell a book and make a lot of money.
I know I'm oversimplifying it. Yeah. I mean, that's where marijuana comes in for me, but
there you go. Yeah.
By the way, your album is coming out on 4/20. Is that a coincidence?
Yeah, no, it was going to be 4/21, and then you hear, this is more like label stuff. They're talking, and they're like, so pre-saves is a big thing, and like if you're pre-saves for the week, and it all like counts like Friday, and we were just talking about different days, and I was like, dude, 4/20. If anything else, it's just easy to remember. Like, so everybody's heard 4/20. So they're like, let's just pick an easy date. Like, if people want to use that as like, while they, smoke or whatever, like they have something to listen to. Cool, man. I'm all for it. Like, great. But like, it wasn't like, it was like intentional, but unintentional at the beginning. It was 4/21. Yeah. Like when we originally were like timelining it. And then I was like, just move it back a day, or like, I think my label was like, they wanted to go back and forth, and then eventually it was like 4/20. That makes sense.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we're like, we can play on that. It's just like a little bit of a marketing thing, and I'm all for it. Like,
so at Pyramid Scheme, are we going to hear all the tracks from that album?
Not all of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them. You're gonna hear most of them.
Yeah,
Most of them.
how do you like how do you decide what goes into a set?
We try to play the ones that are popular.
Yeah,
We don't want to disappoint anybody.
right.
So the ones that we're not playing they'll be released for one day. So like
Yeah,
if the ones that we don't play,
they're not going to be able to have been that popular in a day.
Exactly.
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, if someone listens to it like, how come you didn't play this? It'll probably be like one dude in the back, like,
That'll feel cool, though.
Yeah, it'll be like, I'm glad you even know that song exists.
Yeah.
It's been out for 24 hours.
Right,
But
right.
it's again, it's about energy and just finding. It wasn't too hard on this one because we have one album.
Yeah.
So when you're playing 10 songs, 12 songs, and you only have one album, it's easy. I can't imagine for the people who have like 5 records out, they're like, all right, which ones are we gonna?
Yeah.
They're gonna get ostracized for like not doing like some song that's like has this huge underground following.
Yeah.
We don't have that problem. I hope we have that problem soon.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, that's the goal. Like we want to release another one next year. I'm not gonna give too much away about it because I don't want to jinx it. But
Yeah.
Once we get to that point and we hopefully we'll be able to start piecing together even more of a more energy into the show
And you're gonna have a bunch of new inspiration from being on the road and seeing different places.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
would think that would provide some inspiration for writing, I think.
I would hope so. There's a lot of different things that you can pull from, and it can be past experiences too. But we kind of joke about that. Like when you hear like a freshman album from somebody, you're like, man, that album is insane. It's so good. But
They have years of experience behind those
that was
songs.
probably like 10 years in the making. And then their sophomore album, they're like, man, it kind of fell off a little bit. You get that sophomore slump. Yeah, because they had to write that in a year.
They got a label in their ear saying we need more of that.
Yeah, we're like, you took 10 years to make that great album, and then the next one you're like, oh crap.
Yeah. I think there's a quote that goes, everyone's got one good book in them, but very few have two.
Yeah, that's a great quote. Yeah.
That first book is like all of your life culminating into one thing. And then it's like, now you got someone with finances saying like, we need another one. And there's pressure on you. And
I think we're pretty good at pulling from our past experience and the experience that we have now. And we kind of joke, we have like 2 moods. If you listen to like the whole record, we're either like partying and having fun or like, hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
Or very somber, right? Just like
that's
very
kind of how partying
sad.
goes.
It's like highs and lows. We don't have any kind of like middle of the road songs.
Nobody wants a middle.
That.
Nobody wants a middle.
No, we're extreme, man. We're like all or nothing, or just like super sad or super party, like just like let's so the show is going to be a roller coaster of emotion. It's just going to be like like it's all over the place.
So I've always heard that you're not supposed to wear the band's merch that you're at, but I'm going to wear your Derek Randall shirt. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I want to make it more like, oh, some people know this guy. That's why I want to do it. But like,
I think I think you definitely should wear the merch for the band if you're going to see them.
Yeah.
But I think the big faux pas is like if the band wears their own merch.
That's not cool. I mean, I'm wearing a Talk in the Attic hat right now, but
for this. But like if I'm on stage and like so like my merch has my face on it, so it'd be like weird, like my face on my
this
face.
guy is so vain, my God.
Yeah, like he's my guys wouldn't do that. Like I have my bass player Mikey. He wears it sometimes, like to practice, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, there's nobody in there. Like we're in a basement. Like, and it's
he's like, I got 20 of these. What else am I gonna wear?
Yeah, he's like, this is I don't care what happens to this. So like whatever. So, but yeah, like I think it'd probably be fine wearing it.
I'm definitely wearing it. Yeah, I'm definitely wearing it. And people go to the show. Pyramid Scheme. It's a cool place. I have a story about Pyramid Scheme.
Let's hear it.
There's a band called Foxing. I think they're out of Kentucky, maybe, or actually they might be out of Missouri. I think they're out of Missouri. Actually, there's another one, and they have some cool kind of like atmospheric, kind of indie rock stuff that I always was really into. It's kind of like my go-to zone. And our friends came to Grand Rapids last summer and got us tickets to that. So excited. We listened to like the ones that I really liked in advance. And we got there, and right when we got there, we got hit by a bunch of kids moshing during like the opening act. And I was like, why are people moshing at why is this band opening for Foxing anyway, is what I'm thinking. And then Foxing comes out, and what we didn't know is that in the time from when they bought the tickets to now, they had come out with a screamo album, like straight up screamo.
Okay.
You know, like emo with like screaming, where the guys inward like screaming the whole time, and it turns out that was what this concert was supporting. And so it just was not the vibe we were expecting whatsoever. And we were like the oldest people there.
That'd be a little bit of a shock.
It was shocking. And we ended up getting out of the mosh area because I'm like, I was getting like people's beer spilled on me and shit. I'm like, this isn't fun. But we ended up getting over to the side of Pyramid Scheme, and Pyramid Scheme's loud, and it's a dark club. There's a bunch of pinball machines up front. So folks, it's like a dirty rock club. That's kind of, and I'm not saying it's like dirty, but like that's what it gives you the feel of. It's like exit in. Yeah, I'm sure you've been to exit in Nashville a bunch of times. Like that, it kind of gives me that kind of feel.
Yeah, it's very it's a big little club.
Yeah.
I mean, when there's a bunch of people, it's going to feel big, but it's the vibe that I got is it's still small enough that it's going to be pretty intimate.
Oh yeah, and you get a lot of good reverb. It sounds like rock and roll in there. You know. Yeah. So folks, go pick up your tickets. Go check it out. Come see me. If nothing else, come talk to me. We're definitely going, but you're gonna like it for sure. What's the name of the album?
It's called How We Get Down.
So is that the opening track?
It won't be the opening track. It's a song that we already released. We released some of these already, and then they're getting sucked into the album. And then the same thing is going to happen over the course of this year. We're going to release 1 or 2 new ones, and then next year logos will get sucked into the new album.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of the way the industry is going. Like you see a lot of people that aren't even releasing albums hardly at all anymore. They're just coming out with single after single.
Well, even the big artists, like if you look at Morgan Wallen, like the last 2 albums that he did, he would release singles in between still.
Yeah.
And what that does, it just feeds the beast, you know, like
feeds
the
content.
Yeah, you got to like, these people are like, well, even Morgan, he just released a 36 song album, right? You think that, damn, that's like 3 albums for most people, right?
Right.
But the super fans and all these people, because he's just like, you know, biggest artist on earth, you know, right?
Yeah.
They go and they just consume and like they listen to all 36 songs 100 times already in a month, more. And they're like, all right, more. When's the next single? And he's like, if I were him, he'd be like, I just gave you 36 songs. Space it out. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure he's probably gonna have another single and I think it's also with the I think the industry is changing a lot. So everything is streams, right?
Right.
Like somebody was asking me, they're like, hey, are you gonna have CDs? I didn't even know people still did that.
Like, I mean, I don't even have a CD player in this house.
Exactly. That's why, like, maybe in the car, like I might have one in the car. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Like everything's streamed. So I think it's, I might be wrong in this, so don't quote me if I'm wrong, or maybe you can throw up like a thing.
A pop-up video.
Yeah, but I believe it's like 1,500 streams equals like 1 album sale. Right?
That's crazy.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So when you release a 36 track album, you got all these people that are going to listen to every one. So like the more that you release, the more streams you're going to get from those super fans, which just pushes all of your numbers. So if you
it then gets them on playlists, and then that's what drives a bunch of new fans.
To get a gold record, you don't really need gold record is 500 album sales. So whatever that number is, I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but it's a lot of streams.
Yeah. So is that what it is? 500K is gold?
Yeah, 500. That's what it used to be. A million was platinum. 500K was gold.
So I wondered that. So when they say someone goes platinum now, nobody's buying albums really, other than iTunes a little bit.
It means they hit a certain amount of streams
plus album sales or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, because your album still counts as a unit if someone actually buys it.
Yeah.
Same as like if it was a vinyl, that still counts. You know, like.
But just very few people are doing that.
Yeah, nobody. It's such a cost.
Yeah.
And like especially vinyl, like unless you're like some super artist that has like big label money. Like Sony or something. Yeah, you're talking, you might need $50,000-$60,000 to put a production on it.
That's what makes the music industry so much more accessible now too, though, because like it used to have to do that. You used to have to make an album, you used to have to get like payola to the radio stations, and now you can be a nobody with no connections, and if your music's good enough, there's a chance. Obviously, if you're part of the machine, the big labels are still going to push it and get you on the right playlists and stuff. Yeah. But at least people have a chance now that don't have a bunch of money and don't have a bunch of connections. You know, I think that's for someone like you. I think you would trade access for competition all day long. Absolutely. Because at least now you can do this thing without having to know all the right people and have $100,000 or whatever.
I think as an artist, your biggest competition is awareness. Like the hurdle that you have to get over is people got to even know you exist, right?
Right.
And the big labels, they have the radio, you know, and there's only like, think of radio as like a pie. There's only so much pie to go around because every hour it cycles itself and you're playing the same song. So you have 1 hour of worth of songs that can be played on the radio before, and that's it. So you have all these major labels, and I'm not going to go too much into it because I'm not sure what I can say.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, so like my label handles a lot of stuff, and then our distribution goes through Warner Music Group.
Okay.
So they handle all of our distribution. So when we give
That's
them,
a big boy.
Yep. And so like if you use something like for this podcast, and
it'll get flagged for copyright by them.
it would, yeah, any sort of copyright stuff will come from Warner Music Group. It won't come from like my label.
Yeah.
Their radio distribution, I'm not going to say how much money it would cost, but it's an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
But in the radio promotions that we have done, there's a lot of radio stations that it's not payola anymore. Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
But some independent stations will be like, hey, we'll add you. Maybe if we add you, you can look kindly on our marketing budget and donate X amount of dollars to this. And they, without coming out and saying like, you pay us, we play it.
Yeah.
It's there.
It's still there.
It's there.
It's just
right?
like covered up now.
Yeah. So for any artist, awareness is the biggest thing. So you just want as many people as possible to just know that what you're like, that your stuff exists.
Is it Lightning 100 in Nashville?
The radio station?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even listen to regular radio. I have satellite radio in the car.
Yeah.
And I'm usually trying to find new music either like through TikTok or Spotify.
Yeah.
Like most radio stations, I don't even know.
I heard a stat though that terrestrial radio hits 93% of the human population.
Really?
Like regular, like it, obviously it's sometimes just in the background at a store or something, you know, but like that's what's beautiful about radio. If you can somehow get on there, is it does have massive reach. It's free.
Right.
That's pretty crazy that it's free for people to listen to.
Yeah. I think it's the hardest part, and we've dabbled with it a little bit, is like if you can get as an independent or small label, right? Mm-hmm. Which I still think we're independent. It's an independent label, right?
Yeah. What is the name of the album or the label, by the way?
Farmcore Records.
Farmcore Records.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Okay.
And they're already looking to expand and get more artists that like kind of cross genre and like do things a little different. Have you heard of EDM yet?
EDM?
Yeah. So it's like yee is like a country term, right?
Okay.
So what they're doing is they're taking like that, like the Diplo song with Morgan Wallen, where they take EDM and country music and they put it together. It's called EDM.
That's cool.
So like you're just doing this cross genre things, and you're just breaking like, I'm not breaking any barriers by any means, but some of these people are really doing it.
Hey, the future you might be though. You might be in the EDM scene someday.
Yeah, maybe. I actually really would like someone to take one of my songs and do it. I think it would be so cool.
I know some EDM producers. I could probably connect you.
I'll get them the stems. We could get them whatever they want. Let's do it. Let's. I think that would be so cool.
Well, even like Lil Nas X came out with that song that was really popular.
Oh, the
one with
Old Town Road.
Yeah, like that's like you're seeing more stuff like that. There's a guy named Dax from Mississippi or something that he has a song called Dear Alcohol, but like he just came out with a new song and it's straight up country. He's like a rapper, but the song has no rap and it's a country song. And I'm like, I like that. I like that things are happening like that, dude.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I think the world now where you can just release singles.
Yeah.
Like you don't, or you can just be like, I'm just going to release a few songs in this genre or just do whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's good for a lot of things. It may turn some people off, or like there's going to be traditionalists that are like, that's not rock and roll, or like so there's two. I'm going to give you the two extremes that I deal with.
Yeah.
In country, you're like, well, that's not country because it doesn't have steel, and you're not talking like it's not like this fit this format that you like see from like the 90s and back or whatever.
Yeah, like Hank Williams.
Okay, like that's fine. There's artists out there. Like the best way to get more of that is to go buy their records, the ones that you like that fit.
Put your money where your mouth is. They'll start making more of it.
Exactly, because labels only care about money. So like if they start selling, like if the next Hank Williams starts selling 10 million copies of his record, guess who's going to be put all over the radio? That guy.
Right.
You know, if you look at like Zach Bryan, look at him. He's starting to build up. He's starting to hit a mainstream, and he's kind of got that like raw vibe. So like if people want it, it'll happen. Yeah. So that's kind of like the country side. On the rock side, people are like, well, that's not heavy enough, or like you're too basic, you're too generic, you're not far enough out there. Like,
I need 220 BPM on that double bass drum.
Yeah, like you're not hardcore enough. Like if you're too vanilla, or they call it butt rock, you know, you're too like mainstream for me. Yeah. So it's like, man, you can't win. Like there's these extremes that are just not gonna like you. Like, but the people that do, like, if you relate, cool. If you don't, guess what? There's band, like, for whatever you like, there's someone out there doing it.
There's more bands available to you now than ever. Yeah.
And if you want more of those bands, go out there and support whatever genre you like. Doesn't matter, and more will come.
And I'll take it a step further. I agree with that point, but I'll take it a step further. You start the fucking band that you want to hear then. Yeah. If it's so easy to be that way.
Exactly.
You know, like people tell me, like, I don't know, I think on the podcast you should do it this way. And I'll be like, okay, you should do it that way. Then. Yeah, you don't even have... Go do it.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's why you just can't listen to people, honestly. Like, you need to listen. You need some feedback. You need to be able to do that, but you're never going to please everyone.
Exactly. And I'm not going to apologize to anyone for being like, these songs are who I am. Like, these are stories of my life and of my band, and this is who we are. Yeah. We're not going to apologize for you that we don't match you. Like, I don't care if I don't match you, then don't listen to me. That's fine. Yeah. It's like, you know, you go into like a museum and art, and like some people really like the Picasso and the abstract stuff. That does nothing for me.
Right.
I went into the Rijksmuseum not that long ago in the Netherlands, and I saw like a Rembrandt for the first time, and I was like, man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But the next guy might have been like, it's terrible, and just walked off.
Subjective.
Like, yeah, exactly. And and then music's the same way. It's subjective. Like, it's got to be, if you like it, cool. If you don't, there's probably something else out there for you. And then like, you don't have to hate on like whatever this is just because you don't like it.
Social media just made it so that everyone just thinks they have to have an opinion on everything.
There's so many trolls out there.
People sometimes will troll, like me, just random people will troll some of my episodes or something. I know they haven't listened to them. They're just responding to the artwork they're seeing or something. And it's like, you hated this so much that you took 5 minutes of your life to tell me I hated it. Why? Mm-hmm. Like, when I see something I hate, I'm not gonna. I don't really hate anything. If I see something I dislike, I'm not gonna spend any time talking about it. I'm just gonna move on to something I like. Like, why do? It's so annoying, dude.
I try to respond to every single comment or every single message that comes my way, and even the bad ones. So we'll get stuff that's bad, and I just like, I try to be super kind about it. Like, hey man, you know, sorry we're not your vibe, but I appreciate you stopping by and listening and at least commenting, because that helps us out too. Because it helps, like, all these algorithms, they want like how long you watch, and like, and if you don't like what I'm doing, but you still watch the whole video,
great.
That helps me.
Perfect. Keep watching it, baby.
I want you to hate me some more and watch it again.
Keep commenting too. I'll respond to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Keep commenting. That helps me. But yeah, I mean, it's like you get all these people that just get so caught up in just wanting to, like, just have something to say, like the armchair quarterbacks that are out there, and it's just like, man, it's okay if you don't like it. I'm fine with that. Like, you just you don't have to like it.
Yeah, you're not going to hurt they're not going to hurt your feelings.
No. And that's like in Uber, I'm always trying to, like, when I was driving, I'm like, hey, you don't have to like this. You can tell me the truth, you know. Like, it's okay. That's not going to hurt my feelings. But
yeah, dude. Well, folks, you're going to like it. Go check it out at the Pyramid Scheme on Friday, 4/21. Pre-save the album. If you go to Spotify or Apple Music, there's probably a link in your Derek Randall page, or where you can pre-save, probably.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm not going to, yes, there is one.
Okay. Go to the show notes. You'll see the links for everything you need, including the Pyramid Scheme show. But yeah, Derek, I appreciate you came on. I appreciate that you're out there hustling. There's another lesson here too, that like you're way farther along than the vast majority of people in the music industry that are trying to get in. You know, like you're signed, you've got shows coming up, you've got an album coming out. That puts you in rare air already. And you're still working your ass off, spreading the word, driving Uber, you know, like
whatever we can do, man.
Don't be too cool for school.
No,
like
exactly.
If you really care and you really want to hustle, find your way to hustle. I have a friend named Hilton out in LA right now. He did the same thing when he was in high school. He had a CD, and he was a Hungry Howie's delivery driver. And so with every pizza he delivered, he gave a CD away. You know, and like I appreciate
that.
A way,
man.
Dude, whatever you can do to get the word out there.
Awareness, man. Yeah. Awareness.
Nothing. People go connect with this. You can tell he's an eloquent, smart dude, thoughtful guy. How can you not want to support it?
I appreciate that,
dude. Good luck, man. I'm so happy for you. I'm glad we made this connection. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It was a lot of fun.
And look for that new EDM album coming out.
Yeah.
But Derek Randall.
Yeah, the next one's gonna be a EDM.
It might be 2040 by the time that you evolve into that, but By then, that will be old news by then.
Yeah.
It'll just be like random robot sounds or something happening in music at that point.
Yeah, who knows?
Do you ever think about, last question, do you ever think about Beethoven and those guys? They're such geniuses. To hear the stuff that they were making without being able to, I don't know, they were just playing and figuring it out, I guess. But like, don't you think they would be embracing some of these modern instruments and modern technologies that, like, is it possible Beethoven would have EDM right now? I feel like he might.
Absolutely. I think you're a product of your time. So like Beethoven like heard those sounds and those notes on the instrument he was given. But if you take, I bet you somebody already does this. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that I'm inventing this, but like somebody probably already does this. But if you take those same Beethoven notes and put them on through other instrumentation, I bet you can make like classical EDM or whatever, like cross genre that. And for them, it wasn't about like the lyrical content. It was about connecting emotionally with whatever that song, like it bring you up, or like the sonatas that bring you down. And I listen to all kinds of classical music. It's one of my favorite things. Really, I like when it snows and you're driving in your car. I put classical on because you ever seen those like car crash montages where they're like, and it's got like jingle bells going on in the background. So I always do that. It's so stupid, but I do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for sure, like if you take an artist out of like this time period and put them in a different one, I think they'd still be an artist with whatever they had available to them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude. And now we're in the here and now, and Derek Randall is about to blow up. So we got on the train early here in the attic. You guys should too.
Yeah. All right.
Peace out, brother.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right. Fuck yeah, dude. That was awesome.
Chasers, tell the girls to swing by later. I grab a keg and get it fired up. Later on, gonna play some flip cup. Tell the neighbors that we're gonna get a little loud. Trying to get a little lost just to get found. Gonna just let go and scream it out. Not living for tomorrow, but for right now. We set our souls on fire every time we light the night up. No telling what we're gonna do. Turned up with nothing to lose. No need to leave the light on, 'cause we're out here looking for trouble. No telling what we're gonna do, yeah. Turned up with nothing to lose.